This week, a powerful storm swept across the central and eastern parts of the United States, bringing record rainfall, hurricane-force winds, and widespread flooding. Cities including St. Louis, Nashville, and Chicago experienced severe flash flooding, while rural areas forced damage to power lines and infrastructure. At least 15 deaths have been reported, along with dozens of injured and missing persons. Residents described it horrific escapes. The water rose in a matter of minutes. The river just silhouetted up the streets, said James Carter, and Nashville residents. "We barely made out in hours of time." Emergency service carried out of hundreds of rescue operations using both helicopters and National Guard units. The rich family trapped in their homes. Transportation networks were paralyzed. Major highways were flooded, trains were delayed, and airports were forced to cancel hundreds of flights. More than 200,000 households reported power outage, leaving communities in the dark and emergency shelters overwhelmed. Agriculture was also severely affected. Crops were destroyed across the Midwest, where the farmers reported millions of dollars in damage. Grain silos were flooded and livestock were left in life-threatening conditions. Meteorologists said this storm was caused by unusual warm air current interrupted, where the cold front resulted in heavy precipitation and widespread exceeded 100 km/h. Even in their magnitude are becoming more frequent due to climate change, warning climatologist Dr. Salamanders, emphasizing the urgent need to preparedness. Authorities are continuing recovery efforts, prioritizing power restoration, debris removal, and humanitarian aid. Although immediate assistance is already being provided, restored power lines and livelihood will be long-term challenges. For many affected Americans, the storm is stark reminding the growing instability of nature and urgent need to resilience. After a catastrophic storm swept through the central and eastern parts of the United States, the full extent of the damage is becoming apparent. Water level remained high in many areas, including St. Louis, Louisville, and Nashville, where streets resemble river and entire neighborhoods are flooded. According to the official figure, more than 25 people have died, hundreds have been injured, and search and rescue operations are continuing to insulate the cities. "The water rose faster than I have seen," said Tanya Brooks, a resident of Louisville. "We only had a few minutes to escape. The city seemed to disappear under the water. Rescue are working around the clock, using boats and helicopters to reach trapped residents, while their shelters are trying to accommodate thousands of people who have lost their homes to the floods. Infrastructure have been severely damaged. Major highways are closed, bridges have been collapsing, and railway tracks remain flooded. More than 300,000 homes and businesses are without power, leaving communities vulnerable in hot summer weather. Airports in Chicago and St. Louis have cancelled hundreds of flights, disrupted transportation across the country.
Another candidate who previously worked for the party in central office, maybe another candidate or lead elected.
Agriculture has suffered significant losses. Corn and soybeans fields have been flooded, and livestock have been lost in the lost zones. Economists estimated that the total economy's damage could reach billions of dollars, further exacerbating the already vulnerable community of rural areas. Meteorologists attributed the storm and extremely strong coverage and the weather conditions. Warm, sure, a leaden air from the Gulf of Mexico collided with a cold front from the north, caused direct rainfall and wind of over 100 km/h. Experts warn that climate change is increasing the frequency and intensify such extreme events. Recovery efforts are ongoing, but officials caution the recovery will take a few minutes, it's not months. For residents, the storm was stuck reminding the unpredictable power of nature and the urgent need to be preparing for the climate change.
Tranquilo, tranquilo.
The United States continued to battle with the aftermath, one of the most destructive storm systems in recent years. From St. Louis to Chicago and Nashville, communities remain underwater, river and overflowing to streets and emphasize. Authorities have confirmed more than 13 deaths, hundreds of injured and thousands of displaced people. Emergency service reported that the search for rescue operations remained critical in the area cut off by the flooding. A witness described chaotic scenes. It felt like a city was disappearing before our eyes, said Michael Rodriguez, a Chicago resident. Cars were swept away by the water, houses were flooded, and residents are forced to seek refuge in the rooftop. Helicopters and boats were used to evacuate families left homeless, and emergency shelters are overflowing with the displaced person. The damage to infrastructure is enormous. Several highways and bridges have collapsed, and the power outage have been more than 300,000 homes. Public transportation is largely down in airports, and the Midwest have cancelled hundreds of flights. Many hospitals are opening emergency mode. 33 injuries ranging to broken bones and hypothermia. The agriculture sector have been particularly hard hit. Crops including corn, soybeans, and wheat are flooded many since to rapid livestock losses. Economic analysts estimated that the financial damage could reach billions of dollars, threatening to livelihood and rural communities, all this tragedy with a high cost and supply chain disruptions. Climatologists link with the storm to extreme weather conditions exacerbated by the climate change, northern to risk temperature and unstable jet streams to create conditions more frequent and severe storms. These events are not longer anomalies and become a part of the few normal, said leading meteorologist Dr. Laura Mendel. Federal and state authorities are mobilized aid forcing their efforts to restore power, cleaning debris and provided humanitarian assistance. Although immediate assistance is already being provided, it will take months, if not years, to rebuild communities, infrastructure, and lives. For affected Americans, the storm's dark reminders are growing instability in the nature and the resilience needed to survive it. Official warning that unusually warm AM interaction with the storm had intensified its severity. Coastal communities, many of which are already vulnerable due to performance of Milton and shoreline erosion, reported isolated incident of severe flooding and wave damage. Scientists and local leaders pointed to changing ocean temperature and shifting seasonal patterns, and factors could make storm in Alaska more volatile and difficult to predict. Forecasters have collapsed a continent vigilant in effect such as rising river levels and debris to highway was a risk even after the winds had died down. The priority now is recovery, cleaning highways, assessing structure damage, and restoring service. Officials saying a long-term resilience, strong river definites, updated evacuation plans, and investments in a warning system will be critical to communities facing a future which extreme storm may occur more frequently. coastal villages already threatening to permafrost melt and coastal erosion, separate additions damage from the strong waves. Scientists point to rising ocean's temperature and changing seasonal patterns to contributing factors to warn that Alaska infrastructure built for the definite climate is under increasing strain. Local leaders have called to renewed investment in river protection, improving early warning system to appropriate evacuation routes. As wind speeds decrease, the priority shifted to recovery, cleaning debris in transit bridges and restore power. For many residents, the storm was a stark reminder that climate change in the state exacerbating extreme weather events, and the communities must adapt quickly to protect the life, livelihood, and fragile landscape to which they depend. Reports reported diversions and cancellation on the runways were lifted in debris. First service where sea levels rose and ports were damaged. Utility crews rushed to restore power, and the search and rescue teams cleared blocked highways. Scientists and local leaders said they even highlight changing climate dramatic in Alaska. Rising air and ocean temperature, earlier sulfur and permafrost through the cloud intensified storm, increasing a runoff into glacier basin and avoiding coastal defiance, making floods and wind disaster more frequent and destructive. Experts are calling the long-term investments, permanent protection of rivers, appropriate evacuation routes, and improving monitoring to global lakes. When the wind died down, in the urgent task was recovery, pumping water in the flooded yards, repairing power lines, installing bridges, and easing the damage in small businesses that had separated the loss of tourism and transportation. For many communities, the southern storm was a stark reminder of the climate change in Alaska is already attending the rhythm of life, and that more powerful and long-term resilience may sure will be needed to protect homes, infrastructure, and livelihood. At the same time, tropical turbulence in the West Gulf of Mexico and the area high humidity rose to risk of flooding along the Texas coast and the neighboring region. Local forecasts indicate heavy concentrated rainfall. It could cause the flash flooding in low-lying area and urban area. Even the system never reached a full tropical cyclone threat, and reminded that flooding not wind in the most common cause to death during the tropical threat in U.S. coastal plains in the southern Texas speeded up to preparation and monitoring the timing of the possibility landslide. Inland, severe storm brought destructive storm live winds, lighting to localized flash flood to parts of the Midwest and Northeast. Rich episode to fallen trees, down power lines, and temporarily impossible highway. In Connecticut, intensified evening storms dumped several inches of rain in short period of time, caused localized flooding in hundreds of brief power outage with the utility quickly restored. Emergency officials emphasizing the importance to hitting rapidly issue warning about the flash flood and severe thunderstorm, especially in the summer when storms intensify quickly. Alaska glacier breach in January, southern local hazards. In January, a glacier lake outburst from the medical drainage system caused debris to flow down the river, overflowing temporarily proactive structures to flooding low-lying yards and at least a small road bridge. Rapid melting and sudden outflows from the glacier blocked basins and the increasing problem in the warming Alaska. Warming summers earlier showed melt in the increasing precipitation can fill ice-blocked lakes more quickly, increasing the livelihood of flash floods that occur without warning. City service and volunteers rushed into reinforced riverbanks and removed debris, while the residents of the most affected area were temporarily evacuated until authorities gave the all clear. The incident highlighted the need to regular monitoring the erosion basins to improve public warning system in the area. There were no other risks in the ice jams. Pacific Northwest unusual atmospheric river in August. The rare atmospheric river in August is forecast to bring prolonged wet weather to western Washington, Oregon, and southwestern British Columbia. Forecast agencies have warned to rainfall among the coast while the weak water precipitation in some mountains was shed in a matter of hours. Brisbane, Green Brody, and a White Oak Brook overflowing stimulation, a rate of devastation scenario. Entire neighborhoods were submerged. Emergency crews performed over 1,400 rescue using e-boats to helicopters to reach extended residents many trapped off rooftops in the attic spaces. San Antonio and Austin facing flash floods that swept through the major roadway and overwhelming storm drains. In the county, mobile homes were washed away. Downtown Austin was so powerful through a building evacuation in wind gusts exceeded 17 millihours. Schools, hospital, and transit system across the region helped operations. Governor Greg Abbott activated the Texas Devastation of Emergency Management, deployed National Guard troops, and declared a statewide disaster. This is not an isolated weather event and a climate emergency unfolding in real time, he said during the press conference. The National Weather Service issued level 4 flood warning of much of southwestern central Texas, warning the continued danger due to extended soil, rising rivers, and further rainfall expected for the lightning storm bands. Climate scientists for the Rice University and University of Texas confirmed the record Gulf temperature helped of the storm's intensity. Meteorologist Dr. Kaizen Lutz said, "We're seeing storms that are rather slower and destructive, all classic signs of the climate change." Damage assessment, the ongoing by preliminary estimates suggest over 3 billion in losses to infrastructure, agriculture, and private property. As sky begin to clear, tens of thousands of Texans new particularly related to rebuilding homes, communities to sense safety amid the growing weather uncertainty. Residents along the North California coast are making at least minutes operation on Hurricane Helene. Stranger is not southwestern United States. The storm, now a Category 3 hurricane, continues to grand stretch with a sustainable winds of 120 km/h. Forecasts are warning of potentially devastating consequences as Helene moves within the few centimeters of the region. The National Hurricane Center was updated in devastation, warning that Helene could stretch further before the making rainfall. The storm is expected to bring dangerous winds, heavy rain, and significant storm surge that could lead to widespread flooding, especially in low-lying areas in the coast. Authorities have issued a hurricane warning for the large parts of the North California coast, urged residents to evacuate to take all necessary precautions. Evacuation orders have already been issued at residents in the outer coast, including popular tourist destinations such as Kiddens Island, Accolade Island. Evacuation shelters have been stopped in the entire of island, and local authorities are working with the Red Crescent. All organizations provide safe housing to evacuate. Ferry service between the islands have been suspended, and the highway traffic were increasing dramatically, over residents rushing to move island before the conditions deteriorate. North Carolina governor has declared a state of emergency, mobilizing National Guard and other emergency personnel to help with the preparations and a potential recovery. This is a larger and dangerous storm, Cooper asked during press conference. powerful Atlantic storm that formed near the Cape Verde Island in a weak tropical storm Erin is rapidly changing for the forecast to become the first hurricane in 2025 season, moving northwest toward the West Atlantic. Models show the system could reach major hurricane range over the weekend, causing contact to Bahamas, Bermuda, and other parts of U.S. East Coast in the coming week. Forecast emphasizing to uncertainty about the exact routes, but most forecasts indicate that the storm will pass in north of Caribbean, creating a wide cone of possible approaches that could cause large waves, dangerous currents to coastal life flooding in southwestern mid-island coast without making landfall. Coastal communities are already being advised to monitor updates to prepare the dangerous waves and beach erosions. Meteorological that rapidly intensification is possible to Erin entire warning waters and relatively favorable wind conditions, with the heat caused a tropical storm turn into much more destructive hurricane in a matter of days. This complicates the task of emergency service will be must hit the worst case scenarios while avoiding false alarms.